Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another edition of World Talks here on TVP World, where every word matters. I'm your host, Benjamin Lee, and please join me and my guests on this exclusive interview. The European Union's decision to open membership talks with Ukraine is a significant political milestone amidst the ongoing war against Russia's invasion. While the process will be lengthy and challenging, this ceremony marks a crucial step in Ukraine's journey towards greater integration with the West, distancing itself from Russian influence. Joining us today on TVP World to discuss the implication of this historic move and what it means for Ukraine's future is Bohdan Nahaylo, Editor-in-Chief of Key Post. Hello, sir, and welcome to TVP World.
Good afternoon, everybody.
So is Ukraine and Moldova's candidacy process gaining momentum, or is it just a pipe dream? Before we start answering these questions, let's take a look at what Ursula von der Leyen has to say on the issue.
It is very good news that today the European Union opens accession negotiations with Ukraine and Moldova. We stand at the threshold of a significant and transformative moment for these two countries and for our union. They know that their journey will be rigorous and demanding. The accession negotiations are designed to prepare the candidates for the responsibilities of membership. And this is why there are no shortcuts.
So no shortcuts, and rigorous and demanding is how Ursula von der Leyen have been describing Ukraine's EU accession process. Can you help us break down some of the challenges that we might be facing, we might be looking at?
Well, look, first of all, I think we've heard this kind of language from Brussels for at least 10 years, since 2014, when after the Revolution of Dignity, the way opened for Ukraine's eventual accession to the EU was opened. This event today is certainly a major milestone. It has not only symbolic value, but I think it has important value in terms of giving impetus to the process. Let's recall that, as I said, we've heard about the difficulties, the long-term prospects, etc. But with every such step, the road is shortened. And I think the commitment that the EU has made to Ukraine in terms of support for Ukraine's military effort, financial stability, taking in so many refugees, has already precipitated this movement. And it may not be as long as we anticipate, or the language used tells us. It really depends on how long the war with Russia will last and how Europe will respond to the ongoing war and to attaining victory in this war.
All right, but we do have to address the elephant in the room, though, when it comes to the occupied territory of both Moldova as well as Ukraine. If Ukraine does not win an all-out victory in the form that Ukraine wants, which means getting all of its territory, including Crimea, back, is that going to impede its European Union aspirations?
No, I don't think it will impede the EU aspirations. It may indeed impede the NATO aspirations because of the security and military factors and the fact that NATO countries, understandably, I suppose, are reluctant to take in new members which are at war with other states because of the broad implications for all of them. But I think that the EU membership could still be the carrot that can be dangled before the Ukrainian population in persuading them eventually, maybe, to accept some compromise deal at the negotiating table when and if we get to that stage.
And he also mentioned that Ukraine has made significant economic reforms as well as political ones in order to better integrate into the European Union. However, when we take a look at the European Union as a trade union, a lot of talks have been focusing on the Ukrainian grain issue as well as the steel industry, its raw material, which going into the European Union might significantly impact the prices and how the economic body functions as a whole. Is there any way for Ukraine to transition smoothly into a part of European Union that would convince the members that it will not be an economic strain?
Look, I think at the bottom line is honesty is called for. Ukraine has to be honest in the way it tackles corruption and internal economic good management and governance. But Europe also has to be upfront and admit that corruption is not simply a monopoly of Ukraine and would-be new states. There's significant corruption within many countries in Europe, perhaps better disguised, more sophisticated. But there's also a fair amount of cheating going on, allowing Russia to evade sanctions by companies in some of the bigger European countries, going around using third states as conduits to get products from Eastern Europe, indeed from Russia, evading sanctions. So I think the bottom line is that we need honesty, we need transparency, and we need a fair game to be played out. It can't be all one-sided traffic, Ukraine. On the other hand, we recall from the early history of the EU, remember the opposition by French farmers and others to Poland coming on board, to Ireland coming on board. Of course, each country's vested interests need to be protected. And Ukraine is very rich in grain, steel, other products. And of course, this element has to be harmonized with the future development of Europe. Is Ukraine's addition a hindrance, an obstacle, a problem, or will it enrich the future joint status of Europe as it faces huge challenges from China, from India, Brazil, perhaps down the road, et cetera, et cetera. So I think we have to be very careful with the language we use, with the analysis that is employed, and with the openness and honesty that is required.
All right, you're talking about honesty from the Ukrainian part and being upfront and transparent from the European Union part. And I think I do agree that this will be crucial going forward. As we see the negotiation process is finally taking place, how do you think that would be carried out? Do you have faith in both parties to be able to come to the negotiation table with these in mind and eventually reach a positive conclusion for the European Union as well as Ukraine?
Well, let's be honest about it. Ukraine has very few options. Ukraine is desperate to be integrated as fully as possible into the EU and hopefully as soon as possible too into the security systems of the transatlantic alliance. But on the other hand, we want Europe also to go that extra mile and take Ukraine on, accept Ukraine sooner rather than later. We don't know yet what the full impact of the last European elections will be on the way that decisions are made in Brussels. We don't know whether changes in the leadership will affect this, what changes they may impact on decision-making after elections in France, in the US, and even in the UK, which is not a member of the EU, but where elections are imminent. And all of this together could have a decisive bearing on how slowly or how quickly Ukraine's membership is considered.
Right. Last but not least, we have a little bit of time, but very quickly, what about the Moldova situation? Do you see that mirroring the situation that of Ukraine, or do you think that would be a separate issue?
I think it's linked to Ukraine, and I think that if the Ukrainian issue, meaning Russia's war of aggression against Ukraine, is ended, then we will have not only a solution for Moldova, but we will have a solution for Belarus as well. We're not factoring in Belarus, but Belarus is also waiting in the wings for its moment to take the gulp of freedom and to liven up its pro-European aspirations.
All right. Thank you so much, sir, for your input and insight. I really appreciate it. And thanks again for being with us on TVP World.
My pleasure.
Thank you.